And I really want to thank everyone here for the warm welcome. I appreciate the opportunity to be the governor of the state of Illinois, the land of Lincoln. It's a great honor. I know it's a trust. I believe the office of governor is one that belongs to the people. And in serving in this office for nearly a year, it's been a great honor and privilege, an opportunity to visit people all across our state of Illinois. It's a great state, a diverse state, and I believe everybody's in and nobody's left out. We all know that I assumed this office under the most difficult of circumstances. The Constitution of our state was followed by our legislature, by you, the elected representatives of the people. And on the 29th of January last year, I took the oath of office. In taking that oath of office, I knew that we had a state in crisis, a state that needed stabilization, that needed an honest governor and an honest government. And I think in the past year, we've worked together night and day, in some cases, to win the trust of the people. We have to build the trust of the people. Obviously, the events that preceded my oath of office shook the confidence of the people of Illinois, and their hearts were hurting. And it was our duty as men and women of a democracy, the greatest democracy on planet Earth, to come together in good faith and reform our government. And I said at the beginning of my time as governor, this has to be a year of reform. And I think in the course of carrying out our duties in the past year, we've done very well with respect to restoring ethics and integrity to our government. We understood there was a need to pass strong, tough laws to deal with honesty and integrity. The integrity of our government must always match the honesty of our people. So we went about the task. We reformed the public pensions. We dealt with boards and commissions. We enacted strong standards with respect to procurement and contracts. We reformed the behavior and enacted strong ethics standards for lobbyists as well as state employees. All of those were very important reforms and needed reforms. In addition, we took on the very difficult task of looking how campaigns are conducted and how they're financed. Never an easy subject in any place in this country or at the federal level. We came together in good faith. We worked together. We passed one law that was found wanting, so I didn't sign that law. We came together again, working together in a democracy, and enacted a campaign finance reform law that I did sign that is, for the first time, a chance to have limits on campaign contributions in the state of Illinois, and much more disclosure and openness with respect to money and politics. I think that's a great achievement. I think when time is written and history is written, people will look back and say that the members of the General Assembly, together with the governor, in 2009, heard the people and enacted fundamental ethical reforms. I spoke on the day that the campaign finance bill passed the House and Senate with Sheila Simon, who was a good friend, who was the daughter of Paul Simon, who endorsed me for lieutenant governor. And I told Sheila that we didn't get the whole loaf in the campaign finance reform bill, but she immediately said we got many slices. And I think that's really how her father would look at it, and I think how democracy works. There may be more to do. I think there is. I think we do need in Illinois what I would call an ethics initiative that we would put into our Constitution that would give voters at every level of government, whether it be the local level or county level or the state level, the power by petition and binding referendum to enact ethical standards and campaign finance rules that the people feel are appropriate for all of us who are elected representatives. I'd like to see that on the ballot in 2010, on November 2nd, when those of us who are running for statewide office go before the people. I think that it's important to give the people of Illinois the tools that they need to strengthen our democracy. We have to strengthen the voters. They're the ones who count. They're the ones who pay our salaries. They're the ones who pay the taxes. And I think having an ethics initiative, an initiative solely devoted to ethics in government and campaign finance reform, that is a very important need in our state of Illinois, because democracy is a process that goes on year after year, and it's very important that we bring the people in to our democracy and let them set the rules for our conduct and our behavior. I am very pleased, and I want to commend all those in this legislature that did enact a constitutional amendment resolution that will be on the ballot this fall to establish a recall process in our state. This is the first time in the history of Illinois such a constitutional amendment has been presented to the people. It took 3/5 vote of each house of the General Assembly, both the House and Senate, and the people must enact the recall amendment by 3/5 vote. And I think they will. I think the people of Illinois know that before I became governor, we had great difficulties with two governors, one who was in jail and the other who is indicted and awaiting trial. And I think it's important always to give the people of Illinois the opportunity to cast their vote of confidence or no confidence in a governor who may be betraying the public trust. So I think enacting a recall amendment and an ethics initiative into our Constitution this year will complete the job that the people of Illinois sent us to do. When things go wrong in a democracy, what you have to use is the tools of democracy to correct those mistakes. Now, I think in the course of working together this year, we have shown that when people work together, we can accomplish great things. We can accomplish amazing things. And I think one of the things that was bad in our state before my arrival is there was much dissension, discord, disharmony, friction, name-calling. It doesn't work in life. It doesn't work in a democracy. It's very important that we always have an attitude of civility in the course of our work, that we respect all of those who are elected by the people, and that we try our very best to work together to accomplish great things. I think it's important to go over a few of the things that we've done this year that we have accomplished, and I think it is something that's important for the people to know that their elected representatives work together on issues of very high importance to the public. And one of those issues that occurred this year was the fact that when I became governor, we didn't have all of our state parks open or our historic sites, and that the governor's mansion was rarely used. I think it was important for the people of Illinois to see that the people's house, the governor's mansion, was open to the people. And on Abraham Lincoln's birthday, his bicentennial, we had an open house at the governor's mansion. We've had many, many events. We've invited legislators as well as ordinary everyday people in Illinois, the heart and soul of our state, to come to the governor's mansion and to come to our state parks. I think it's very, very important that in this time of economic recession, we have parks available for the people. And I made sure that that happened when I became governor. We want to leave no child inside in Illinois. I believe that it's important for kids to get outside in nature with their moms and dads and with others, their friends, to see the wonders of nature. Long ago, 100 years ago, when Teddy Roosevelt was president of our country, he said conservation is the patriotic thing to do. And it's important that we understand the spiritual value of being in nature. And so our state parks are quite important to us, and I was distressed that my predecessor padlocked some of the state parks. And very early in my term as governor, I ordered that the parks be opened, and they are. And I'm glad to see that. That's just one beginning of openness in our government. We had to work together on all kinds of important tasks, one of which, a very important one that's important for our economy, is that we had to get 3/5 vote of the members of the General Assembly in the House and in the Senate, 60% of each House, to vote for what is called a capital bill or a job recovery bill, whatever you want to call it. For 10 years in Illinois, for 10 years, we did not have a legislation passed that invested in the fundamental things in our economy, like safe roads and safe bridges, like improving our water systems, like making sure we have good rail systems to get goods to market, to build our schools and rebuild our schools. There was a lot of friction, we all know it, but finally this past year, we came together, worked together, and enacted a landmark law that will really help our state today and tomorrow with respect to its economy and jobs. We invested together and worked together on that. You know, I want to commend all of those who worked on that, the leadership of the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, and the membership of both parties. We understood that the folks back home, the folks who elected us, they needed us to get this job done. And we worked together to get it done. It wasn't easy. It took a lot of hard work, but that's what democracy is all about, banding together and working together. Same way when something goes wrong in our democracy, we don't overlook it. What happened at our University of Illinois, our great state university that we're all so proud of, they had an admissions review scandal, an admissions scandal that came up in the course of the year. I appointed an admissions review commission to look into it, to find out the facts. They found out the facts. I had to replace 7 trustees on the University of Illinois Board of Trustees. They elected a new chairman, Christopher Kennedy. A new president has taken office, Dan Eikenberry, who's doing an excellent job. And that's how you deal with things in a democracy. When something doesn't go according to what you want it to do, it isn't supposed to go that way, then you correct the mistake. And President Eikenberry told me not long ago that the board at the University of Illinois today is the best one he's ever seen. And it's so important that we have good leadership at all of our educational institutions. So that's what democracy is, people coming together when a problem arises, working together to solve it. Another one that we've worked on in the past year that I think should get some attention is the whole issue of foreclosure. Many of our neighbors, good people, through no fault of their own, have lost their job and they're in danger of losing their homes. We enacted a good bill that gives more time for people to get their finances together to ward off foreclosure. Another landmark bill that we passed was to help utility consumers, people who are struggling in a tough recession, paying their utility bills. We have a law now in place that I signed that helps people of very poor or modest income afford their utilities in cold winter, as well as making sure that all of us have an opportunity to use our utility bill to help finance energy efficient improvements in our home. Yet another consumer bill, a very important one that we enacted, was to deal with the issue of denial of care by insurance companies. Many health insurance consumers have found that when they need help the most, the insurance company denies care. Well, we should have a process where there's an independent review of that, and we were able to pass that law. It's a very important law. We work together on that, and it will make sure that we have good health in our society. And I think health is important. I think every life is important. There's a passage in Scripture that says, if you save one life, you save the whole world. And this year in Illinois, a historic year, 2009, for the first time since 1921, we had less than 1,000 deaths on the highways of Illinois, the lowest number since 1921. Now that took a lot of work. Members of the General Assembly passed legislation that was signed into law. It took state policemen on the highways, men and women who work for our Department of Transportation, oftentimes in very difficult weather, to clear the roads and make them safe. It took law enforcement at every level. It took a lot of hard work. But there was one person in particular, in my opinion, who's led the way for our great record at reducing fatalities, saving lives on our highways. He's a man, a modest man, who has always stood for public safety. He's my friend. The day I got sworn in, he called me up and said, whatever it takes to help get our state back on track, he was willing to help and serve. We passed a law this year, a very important law that will ban texting while driving. He was the leader of that, working with Representative John D'Amico. And I want to publicly thank our Secretary of State, Jesse White. Please stand up, Jesse. I said Jesse White's a modest man. You know, we're on the eve of Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. He would be 81 this coming year. And Dr. King, as you may know, his first pastorate was in Montgomery, Alabama, the home of Alabama State. That's where Jesse White was going to school at the very time that Dr. King arrived in Montgomery. And Jesse White is a college student, joined with his friends and helped support Dr. King. They were there when Rosa Parks said she wasn't going to move to the back of the bus. Jesse White has had a life of service. This year is the 50th anniversary of the Jesse White Tumblers. Half a century of helping mentor young people and making sure they go the right way in life. So I'm publicly very grateful to you, Jesse. You've been a great friend, a great advisor. I really appreciate your help in these troubled times and helping me as governor of Illinois, and you're a great man. Thank you very much. As I mentioned, anytime we can save a life, it's a very important thing. And I think one of my very first bills that I signed this year had to do with mammograms and breast cancer screening. We don't want anyone to be denied health measures that they need in order to save their life and make their life better. And it takes sometimes in a democracy the efforts of lots of citizens at the grassroots level to bring to our attention the need for important reforms. And that happened. One of the first bills I did sign was a bill that allows women of color, women of low income, access to mammograms and breast cancer screening. And that effort was due to the tireless efforts of two women who are with us today, and I think it's important to recognize their efforts. Dr. Janice Phillips is a doctor, a leader in the area of minority health and healthcare disparities. She's on the board of the Susan G. Komen Cure for Cancer and the Metropolitan Chicago Breast Cancer Task Force, and together with Angela Walker, who had dinner last night at the governor's mansion. Angela is a breast cancer survivor. She works for the American Cancer Society. She's focused on educating the public on the importance of mammograms and early detection. I'd like both Dr. Phillips and Angela to stand up and be recognized for their great effort. I think it's important to recognize citizens when they take their time, their effort, their ability to organize and bring together a whole community of people to get a law passed. Just imagine that. Some group of people, through their hard work, have passed a law in our state, the land of Lincoln. And I think it's very important to recognize that kind of effort in a democracy. Everybody in a democracy is important. It's not a spectator sport. It's something where all of us have a duty as citizens to participate. And I think related to that is another issue that I was very impressed with in the past year. We had a horrific scandal at a cemetery in our state, Burr Oak Cemetery. It was on the national and international news. It was a very, very horrific scandal. And it's incumbent upon all of us here in Springfield, in our state capital, to address what went wrong there at Burr Oak and may go wrong at other cemeteries in our state. And I want to commend the General Assembly for taking this issue and squarely addressing it. It's very, very important that we pass reform legislation there. That's part of working together. And I think that's the key for our state's success at all times. All of us working together for important causes. And also, another issue that came up that was a very difficult one in the past year that I think really needs attention because it's something that we did for our country. You know, there is a passage in the third verse of America the Beautiful that talks about what we have to do for our country. And it says, "O beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life." And I think it's important that all of us put our country above ourselves from time to time. It's very important that we answer the call to duty. And I was contacted by our president, Barack Obama, and his administration about the need to come to Illinois, to our state, his home state, to inspect a prison, a nearly vacant prison that we haven't been able to afford to open. Thompson Prison, far away from here, probably 150 miles, right on the border of Iowa. It wasn't easy. There were some that, when we even opened the door for inspection, criticized that decision. But as governor, you have to make decisions. You have to have fortitude. You have to do what you think is right. And what I tried to do when the president called in his administration is allow those federal prison officials to come to Illinois to inspect the prison. When they came through here, they found that it was an ideal prison for a federal prison that they were anxious to buy. But in order to really make this go forward in our state, I agreed that I would sell the prison to the federal government for a fair market value. But we have a process, a good process in Illinois, where legislators come together of both parties to analyze a particular matter. And last week, that analysis was complete. I do want to thank the members of that committee that looked at the issue. In particular, I want to salute Representative Jim Sasha, who was not a member of the committee, but when he heard about the opportunity to create jobs in Western Illinois, stood forward and said that this was, upon his analysis, a good transaction for the people. I also want to salute members of the other party that I'm not a member of, but who voted in favor of the transaction, Senator Dave Severson, as well as Representative Rich Myers, and all the members who voted for that transaction. I think it will be one that will help our state in the sense that we will have more jobs in a federal prison, or maybe more than 3,000 new jobs, new income to a part of our state. And I think it's important to remember that Illinoisans, the people of our state, we are never, ever afraid of anything. We can handle any task. The decision of the committee last week to have the transaction go forward, I think is a good decision. It will help our country. As General David Petraeus has told the President that the closing of Guantanamo Bay prison in Cuba and moving those detainees elsewhere, incarcerating them elsewhere, is imperative for our national security. So when the President of the United States and his military advisors call, this governor is there to listen and to help in any way he can, and I think the people of Illinois appreciate that kind of work. And on the matter, on the matter of jobs, I think that is the matter before us all. Last year, a year of reform, a year of stabilization. I think we were enabled to enact a far-reaching law that will help us get jobs back on track in Illinois. But I want to be a governor who understands the needs, the economic needs of everyday people in our state. I have always done that as state treasurer, as lieutenant governor, and now I'm the governor. And I think that the #1 issue in Illinois today is getting our economy back on track. And I think that President Franklin Delano Roosevelt said a long time ago, during the Great Depression, when my mother and father were young, that the best social policy ever devised, the best government program ever devised, is a good job. And that's what we have to understand, that our mission this year is to revive our economy and put people back to work. We can do it in the state of Illinois. I want to be the building governor. I want to build more things across our state, more good things, than any other governor in state history. We have the wherewithal to do it. We have the will to do it. We have the people to do it. We have the work ethic to do it. It's very important in Illinois that we have work. We have to replace, in some of our neighborhoods in Illinois, a culture of violence with a culture of work. And we must have work available to those who are ready and willing to do the job. I've laid out a jobs and economic growth plan for our state. I want to go over a little bit of what we're going to be doing this year. We have more construction planned for Illinois, road construction, bridge repair, water investment, rail construction, helping build new schools and repair old schools. This is what we have to do. We have to prime the pump and get our economy back on track. And we can do that through public works that put our people to work. I think it's very important to understand that we have an opportunity in Illinois to make investments that will not only help create jobs today, but will set the foundation for economic growth for our state for many years to come. I want to go over today a few of the ways we're going to do that. We want to be, Illinois, an inland port for the whole nation. We're right in the middle of the country. Every railroad in the nation crisscrosses our state. We have great transportation. We want to make it better. We want to improve our roads and bridges. This past year, we were able to pave and repair 2,000 miles of roads. That's enough roads to go from Springfield to the Pacific Ocean. and you ain't seen nothing yet. In the coming year, we're going to do even more. We repaired 93 bridges this past year. We want to do more in the coming year. It's very important to understand that we can be an inland port for the whole central part of our country, the heart of our nation. But we have to make sure we have good transportation. We have to unsnarl some of the freight bottlenecks in our rail. We have to have good passenger rail. It's been growing by leaps and bounds. We want to keep it going. We want to have a passenger train that goes from Chicago to Rockford and beyond. We want to have a passenger train that goes from Chicago to the Quad Cities and beyond. And we also want to have high-speed rail that connects Chicago to St. Louis. You know, fast trains are the wave of the future. Our president is committed to this. Our state, we've invested $400 million. We look forward to getting a decision from Washington very soon on a high-speed rail network where our state is the center of the whole network for the Midwest. I've worked with other governors across the Midwest, both Democrat and Republican. We understand that rail can create a lot of new jobs for our state, and we're very committed to that. We're also committed to air transportation. We have to understand that there's an opportunity in Peatone to build a new airport that will serve passengers and freight and create new economic growth and jobs. And I want to accelerate our investment in the third airport this year. When we talk about fast trains, I'd like to see a fast train that goes from Chicago through the south suburbs, past Peatone, through Kankakee, all the way to our great state university at Urbana-Champaign. It's very important that we have super fast rail, and even in our capital bill, we have some resources available to begin planning a very fast train that would connect Chicago and Champaign. I think it's important to understand that as our region gets closer and closer together through transportation, we can grow our economies correspondingly across the Midwest, but particularly connecting to universities and airports and having the opportunity with rail and highway transportation to be the center of distribution for the whole middle part of our country. We want to use an inland port, that whole idea, to create new jobs, high-wage jobs in Illinois. This isn't pie in the sky. We're already doing it and beginning it in Joliet, where we are creating an intermodal that is going to create thousands of jobs for hardworking people. I also think it's important not to make little plans. We have to have big plans. We have to look forward. We cannot have a governor who just sees a day or two ahead. We've got to have a plan for our economy for the next generation. And that's why I'm committed to making sure that we have in our state the kind of biotechnology that we're capable of. We have great pharmaceutical companies in Illinois. We have great research universities. We have great hospitals. This summer in Chicago will be the International Bio Convention. It's important that we welcome them with open arms because biotechnology in all of its forms is a great way to grow the Illinois economy. We also understand that FutureGen, a project that is on the drawing boards and hopefully close to fruition, located in Mattoon, Illinois, where we have clean coal and we do it in the right way. This is an opportunity for our state, and I want to personally thank Senator Durbin for his leadership on this issue. Hopefully we can get that investment in downstate Illinois. I also think another area that we need to improve upon, and I want to commend the legislature for your action yesterday, it's important that we understand that in the middle of the country where people want to come to see the great sights of Illinois, not just in Chicago, but here in Springfield and all over, we want to be a hospitable place, a place for tourism, a place for history-based tourism to learn about Lincoln, a place for nature-based tourism to see an eagle fly over the Illinois River, a place to come to a convention in Chicago. And it's very important that we make sure that our conventions, our facilities for conventions at McPier, McCormick Place, are done in the right way. So we have work to do there, we know that, but we began that work yesterday. Look forward to signing the bill that has passed the General Assembly. We want to make sure that those 303,000 jobs that we have in conventions and hospitality and tourism in Illinois multiply and grow. We have to understand that that's a good part for our state to grow its economy because of all the opportunities that exist there. A growing economy and a growing middle class, that's the key to to empowerment for the people of Illinois. We have to have a governor who has a plan, who sees the future. And I see a great future in green-collar jobs in Illinois. We have to understand that we have to have a green way of thinking.